of scheme run by any of the ministries. Additionally, 40 prototypes which have been developed are going to be inducted in services also, and they have received clearance for procurement, underscoring the effectiveness of our approach in enabling cutting-edge solutions for the armed forces. This roundtable conference, which is normally organized on every Aero India or Defence Expo, gives a good opportunity for all of you to interact with us, and it's rather than a better opportunity for us to listen from you how to further improve our system and also to learn on the various new technologies which are emerging in the field. I'm confident that we'll have a better and more impactful partnership in the next 1.5 hour session in which we are eager to listen from you. And I extend my heartfelt congratulations to the iDEX team for their continued effort in driving this initiative forward. Best wishes to all of you for a successful future. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for setting the tone for the event. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to deliver the plenary address, I please invite Shri Pawan Goenka, Chairman, Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization, Department of Space. I humbly request you, sir, to take to the podium to your left to share your valuable words with the august gathering. So if I may please request you to take to your podium left. We're all eager to hear from you, sir.
Sorry, I was just catching up with Secretary DPIIT, so. So Secretary Defense Production, Secretary DPIIT, Joint Secretary Defense Production, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to be here in this program. I think it's called Manthan. And Manthan is all about Atmanirbharta in both innovation and in production. And I was at the Aero Show yesterday, and perhaps many of you have been there. And that really is a best showcase that I can think of what India has achieved in defense and aerospace in terms of innovation and production. You could clearly see that we have come a long ways, those who have been involved for some time, from where we were, say, a decade ago to where we are today. And to me, who is not directly in the defense industry, it's very heartwarming to see how far we have come. And the credit goes to a tremendous push for last probably couple of decades by the Defense Department and DRDO for making this happen, and an acceptance and aggressive participation by the industry to deliver. Sometimes without clearly seeing the economic benefit that will emerge out of this, because many of you have been complaining that we've been working for so many years and nothing much has happened. But I think now a lot is happening, and we are moving forward. When it comes to space, the relationship between space and defense goes back forever in all countries which are spacefaring nations, like India is one of the few, 6 or 7. And today we have many satellites that have been launched specifically for defense use in communication, in navigation, in remote sensing. And the latest one that you would have probably heard about, the SBS series of Constellation that will be launched in the next 2, 3, 4 years, is perhaps the biggest space defense collaboration in India. And I think that will put India amongst the best in terms of how space technology is being used for surveillance in our country. The iDEX program that was initiated, I think, in 2018 or maybe even before that, is one of the most successful initiatives of any department in the government of India, I think, focusing on a given sector that has emerged. And the outcome of iDEX is very visible when you again look at the Aero Show to kind of see the kind of things that have come out of it. And I'm very happy that about 3 years ago, a defense space iDEX program was launched, from which some 75 different projects have emerged. And almost coming from in space, where our role is to promote space. First of all, I'm very happy to see how iDEX is also taking on space, and I'm somewhat envious on how successful that program is and how do we make a successful program like that in space, not just for defense, but for all the sectors where space comes in. And we are copying almost iDEX to see how we can create a space program in that. So today we have three very important or interesting panel discussion where we will talk about, again, technology, innovation, standards, and so on. And I'm here looking forward to hearing your views on that and see how the Space Department and in space can help in all the initiatives the Defense Department is taking and the industry participating in defense. So again, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I'm very delighted to be here and look forward to the interaction. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for your illuminating thoughts. In fact, as you had mentioned the term Manthan as well, we're all eager and all set to stir up some very invigorating conversations here. But on that note, as we move ahead, now to share the special address with the August gathering, I now invite Shri Amardeep Singh Bhatia, Secretary, Department for Promotion and Industry and Internal Trade, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Over to you, sir.
Secretary, Defense Production, Sanjeev, Shri Pavan Goenka, Chairman in Space, Joint Secretary, Defense Production, startups, investors, various institutions associated with startups present here today. It's indeed a pleasure coming here today to be part of this Manthan gathering. I have come here with a vested interest. Let me say upfront, I have not come here to say words of wisdom to you. All of you know about startup ecosystem and what is there, but still I'll say something. But I want to hear more from you, because iDEX, as Mr. Pavan Goenka also said, and he very humbly put it, he's also heading a very successful program. iDEX is a very successful program which everyone is looking at, and it's not only the iDEX but also the history behind how it has evolved, how defense has been outsourcing problem statements to industry to come forward, how it has matured over a period of time. Of course, there are still some issues with regard to how risk needs to be allocated, how the right risk should only be given to the industry and other risks should be mitigated to the extent possible. Maybe a little bit more fine-tuning is required. InSpace is also doing tremendous work in the space sector, in incubating startups for the space sector, and tremendous work is being done. In DPIIT, we had started the journey of startups, as all of you know, around 9 years back. We have completed 9 years. And we've done a number of things which we are very proud of, that we've helped build a good, strong ecosystem which promotes entrepreneurship, which has brought in the spirit of entrepreneurship, where entrepreneurship is no longer looked as it's looked as an option. It's no longer that why we'll go for employment. It's a very viable option which a student looks at, which a young graduate looks at when he comes out of college. And we have developed a very good ecosystem of financing. Our fund of fund scheme, which we had launched, through that we've set up a good alternate investment fund ecosystem where I'm told around 91,000 crore of funds have been pumped into the startup, into various startups through a corpus of around 10,000 crore, which was the Series A fund, which we had launched. In fact, most of you would have been following also in this budget also, there was an announcement of a Series B fund of around 10,000 crore, another series of fund-of-fund scheme, which we are hoping to use in an expanded way to take this funding to the next level. Now, why I say to the next level? Because if you see in the civilian sector, not in the defense sector, civilian sector, most of our startups, they have focused on providing service. Whether it is delivery of goods, whether it is improvement in other public services, or whether it is the Zeptos or the Zomatos. We have to cover a huge area of products, which is which I think some focus is coming in, but there's a lot which can be done. And today's this Manthan will, I hope, also provide some pointers, which is what I have come here to learn from all of you, some pointers as to how to promote that space. We are also looking at the deep tech part of it. We have to cover this in huge space from here till deep tech, and also look at deep tech. How do we harness the full benefits of frontier technology and are ready for the next generation? I can continue, keep sharing, but I would like to hear more from all of you. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, Sanjeev, to the organizers here, and look forward to a lot of good feedback from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for sharing your valuable thoughts. And as we take that learner's mindset forward, ladies and gentlemen, I now invite Shri Sanjeev Kumar, Secretary, Department of Defence Production, to please deliver the keynote address.
Thank you very much. A very warm welcome and good morning to all of you for your very overwhelming presence in this event of ours, Manthan, as part of the Aero India 2025. On the dais, my good friend Amardeep Singh Bhatia, Secretary DPIIT, Mr. Pawan Goenka, Chairman in Space, my colleague Joint Secretary Amit Sateja. I can see large number of luminaries in the participants, CMDs of many public sector companies. Also, Mr. Bhatia from Bharat Force. And there are many companies who are a startup. 80, I have been told 80 MSMEs and startups are there. The 10 representatives from academia, 5 industry bodies, and 20 incubators. We also have the honor of having investor and financial institutions like SKJAN, SIDBI, Axilor, and also industry bodies including FICCI, Vadhwani Foundation, premier institutions like IITs, Indian Institute of Science, BITS Plani, etc. We are really, really indebted to all of you for being with us today and this morning. As has been told by my fellow speaker, both Amardeep Singh Bhatia and Mr. Pawan Goenka ji, our intention is to hear from you, and the objective is to how to take it forward. Yes, we all acknowledge that we have made a beginning, and that beginning seems very promising. But internally, whenever we discuss, we also understand the challenges, the problems which we are facing. Some of them, Mr. Bhatia spoke, unequal allocation of risk is one of the major issues which we are facing, and how to allocate the risk better. so that many more startups, many more youngsters, many more companies can come in this sector. If we have to see the success of iDEX, then we can see that we have onboarded almost 500 companies, which we are developing now product, mostly product. Since I'm not 100% aware, that's why I'm saying mostly product, but should be maximum products, maybe some services. But the challenge remains that how many of them have got inducted into the armed force and how many of them have got the repeat orders. So that's why internally in last 3-4 months I have been discussing with my team that now our focus should shift, or rather if I don't use the word shift, then I should say that our focus now should also equally be on inducting these technology so that the people who have onboarded our iDEX system also feel more confident of making business out of it. We would like to hear from you. Many times we have been told that there are some issues regarding getting enough finance, and whatever finance you get from ministry should also come timely. So in that direction we have taken a step. Yesterday Honorable RM unveiled our financial manual to handle iDEX, and we have reduced the number of steps very significantly, which you will come to know. We could see that we were using one fit for all method to evaluate a startup, even a single person who start a company. We were trying to evaluate in the same manner in which we are evaluating the financial of big company or stabilized company. So we have reduced that to very, very significant level. And the philosophy now is to believe whatever is being told and then go ahead. Down the line, we might like to supervise finance part of our granting system slightly more elaborately, not in the beginning. Another challenge which I personally see, and you must have seen, of course, all of you must have seen much better than me, is how to convert these defense technology into the dual-use civilian technologies. And it's quite possible. I mean, mind says it is possible then, because if we keep on relying only on the defense market, then we all understand that sometimes it becomes challenging. So we have to branch out to the civilian market and understand and bring economy of scale. Another challenge which I was discussing backstage with my colleague, Secretary DPIIT, is that proliferation of the same system of involving a startup by various department entities, and would it be better to bring some synergy amongst all these systems so that people can be exposed to one database, and the things, parts, technologies, components which have already been developed need not be developed again by somebody, some other startup. So bringing that synergy can probably fasten the innovation and can also reduce the compliance cost to the startup, because they are now complying with the requirement of each department, each ministry separately. So that's another area which we will like to work. As both of my co-panelists spoke, that the idea is to listen more from you. That's why I will stop here and request you to give your feedback honestly and also without worrying too much that how it would be taken by us. It would be taken in the right spirit only. Thank you very much. Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your thoughts and for also accentuating on the collaborative conversation that we are about to witness. Ladies and gentlemen, unlocking India's defense potential, iDEX is driving innovation and self-reliance. We, in fact, are about to now share a video that highlights iDEX impactful initiatives and success stories. So let's get to discover how iDEX is transforming India's defense ecosystem through collaboration, innovation, and technological advancement. Let's have the AV on the screen, please.
iDEX is redefining the defense narrative since its launch in 2018 by the Honorable Prime Minister. iDEX has stood as the beacon of Atmanirbharta, empowering startups, MSMEs, and innovators to deliver next-gen defense solutions. iDEX bridges the gap between vision and innovation with an extensive network of 28 partner incubators nationwide, over 600 winners addressing 500 plus challenges, and more than 2,000 crore rupees worth of procurements underway. iDEX is revolutionizing the defense innovation landscape by fostering development of advanced technologies and streamlining procurement processes. International collaborations are expanding India's global footprint through joint tech partnerships with other nations. Manthan, an initiative under Department of Defence Production, is a vibrant platform designed to ignite strategic partnerships, unlock opportunities, and foster collaborations by bringing together industry leaders, policy makers, defence experts, and technology pioneers to shape discussions on next-generation defense capabilities. As India advances towards Viksit Bharat at 2047, iDEX is driving India's journey to technological excellence and innovation in defense. iDEX, innovating for a secure tomorrow.
Well, yes, ladies and gentlemen, on that incredible note, as we all know, Manthan 2025 is set to drive the self-reliance mission of the Ministry of Defence as we march towards Viksit Bharat 2047. So to take this vision forward, we now move on to the collaborative conversations that we are all eagerly waiting for. And to spearhead these conversations, we have with us Mr. Mudit Narayan, startup investor, policy researcher, and published author. And he's someone who also used to be advisor to iDEX during the early years. So can we also have a round of applause? Please help me welcome on the dais. We have with us Mr. Mudit Narayan. I request you to please join our dignitaries to take this visionary discussion forward. Over to you then.
Thank you. Great to be here and great to hear those lovely words about iDEX. We started off with a very small team 7 years ago, and it's delightful to see where this team has reached. The room is full. I should start with a few ideas about what we're doing today. The dignitaries on the stage shared how they're here to listen. And the event is called Manthan. It was designed as a roundtable. It's difficult to get a roundtable of this size, and our family has grown bigger. But all of you are sitting on roundtables, and please be assured that the idea is to hear from you as much as we've heard from our leaders on the stage. And how we'll run this today is we've all seen the three topics. We'll have about 20-25 minutes for each of the three topics. Many of you have identified them yourself as interested to share your ideas on these. I'll expect you to keep these comments short. Again, my role here is to make sure there's very little protocol, right? We do have senior leaders on the stage, but you in the room are representing startups, you're representing MSMEs, incubators, investors, large enterprises, industry associations, all of which are required for this ecosystem to continue. Technology does not innovate if there is no business use case behind it. Technology does not get created in a vacuum. You need business use cases, you need revenues to pay for the engineers, to pay for the manufacturing facilities, to pay for new investments. And that's what we've seen. And that's what's brought together so many people in this room. Delightful to see the success stories that we hear about in iDEX. And in the next step, it's been 7 years since iDEX was launched. The next step is how does our industry start working with non-defense parts, so the dual use side of things? How do we get more of our startups, which are now hopefully enterprises, to become exporters? We heard stories in the morning before the event started, of companies which started with iDEX in the first grant and now exporting to multiple countries. Delightful to hear that. But can that be an ecosystem? Can that become part of regular work? And those are some of the things that require standardization, they require trial and certification systems, all of which are topics which are of a daily essence. And our sense today is to bring out all the voices, and as Secretary Secretary Defense Production so kindly said, please feel free to share your opinions, and the harder they are, the better they are. And my job here is to not filter them, but to get them in an action item, to get them to get converted into actions that the iDEX team and the ecosystem can actually deliver on. So with that, and one more request, the iDEX team does engage. They'll always be open to hearing from you, but for today, keep your comments short. I have something like 10 people in each of these sessions who identified their interest to speak, and we have about 25 minutes each. So my request would be to keep it short and as action-oriented as possible, because all of these will be collated and compiled, and as you know, many of you would know, there's been a constant innovation and evolution on how iDEX is run. There used to be a very small group of people designing the processes. Now it's been a much bigger team. So there's constant evolution. They will hear from you in the longer term, but today, just keep your comments very short. With that, let me just read out the 3 topics that we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about accelerated adoption, something that Secretary identified as a priority area. Thank you, sir. Enabling integration of dual use, which is critical because so much innovation has happened in this space. How can it be taken to the hands of our citizens, our consumers? And then achieving global standards and in testing and certification. And global standards are critical for exports, and which is what is the idea of this decade for India. So with that, I don't want to hear my voice for too much. I'll move the topic on accelerated adoption. We have a variety of people. I should also say one more thing. Each of the tables has a mix of people from MSMEs, startups, investors, industry associations. So there is no hierarchy within the tables. We try to mix as many people. And I genuinely believe that the conversation that will happen on the table will probably be far more useful than what we take away from the session. So with that, I'll be inviting some people, but you can also, within the 25-minute period, if we get more opinions, we'll be more than happy to take that. Let me start with my participant from Digantara. Can you identify yourself? Or if you're probably having a conversation outside, I'm more happier. Mr. Muralidharan from Tassel. Please, can you get the mic for him, please?
Good morning. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share. First and foremost is there should be a good collaboration between academia, startups, and industries. These 3 have to come together and have a synergy with the users. As you rightly said, the users' interest is important for us. But these 3 are not coming together. Each is today working independently. Now, talking about newer technologies, industries may not want to adopt new technologies from a TRL, higher level TRL. They want somebody to make a prototype and induct it. So the best is the academia and the startups. They can develop these technologies and loan it to the big industries. This is not happening. This is happening elsewhere in the world. That's how they are successful. Second, when the industries look at these newer technologies developed by a startup or a academia, how do we integrate into our systems? Today we lack systems engineering, and we lack a lot of semiconductor chips available in India. So these 2 should also be focused. And many technologies are now flowing from civil to defense and not from defense to civil. So we should encourage startups in the civil sector, and dual use should be the other way around, not from defense to civil. Okay, so a few of my thoughts. I thought time is less, so if I get another chance, I'll share something more.
Thank you, sir. Very useful. A lot of the ideas that you shared were the premise for design of iDEX. From enterprise, let me go to a startup. Abhishek Jain from Zeus. I think I saw him. Yeah. Hi, Abhishek.
Thank you. Sir, I have 5 brief points. So first one is, when we write about emerging technologies, we are not able to find out what is emerging. So what I used to do in IIT as an assignment is now being called AI. I mean, so sometimes we are not doing very good AI, or we are doing something substandard and we are calling it AI. So we'll have to have some expert committee or review mechanism, that's my suggestion, which knows what is AI and what is not. So that is one, sir. Second is when I see the agenda, we talk about hypersonics, we talk about many other things. But when I studied the modern wars, and I had a project for doing that, the hero weapon systems that we saw were HIMARS, Excalibur, DPICM, and Iron Sting. And all of them are artillery, sir. And 80% of the casualties in Ukraine war were artillery. But we don't see artillery mentioned here, so I think we'll have to invest there, sir. That's my suggestion, modern artillery. Then the third point is the choke point, sir. When we go to war, we may have lot of weapon systems, but to detonate them, we'll need detonators. And now the weapon systems are becoming smaller and smaller, so electronic and small detonators are not our forte yet. It is possible we'll have lot of weapons, but we'll not be able to fire them because there are no detonators. The suggestion is somebody should take up this technology development, sir. It's very important. The fourth point is testing and certification, sir. We need to segregate testing and certification. In testing, sir, what has happened is now we have been stuck in that preliminary design review, then critical design review, that approach, which is a very linear approach, whereas the SpaceX approach is fail fast, fail more, and do it. So I think we should go out of that, lot of simulations, lot of PDR, lot of CDR. We should make the prototypes fast. We are going to get stuck in milestone 2 and 3 in iDEX projects also because we'll be doing that and not doing the prototype. And the last point is, sir, the policies that we have made are actually very good now, sir. I think it's time that we need to defocus from making new policies. I have studied policies of even developed countries because of the project that I was doing, sir. And our policies are now better than what the developed countries have. I think the only thing lacking is that we take more time to do things, sir, and implement the policy that is existing. I request that we only focus in this year of reform for shortening time, and whatever we have made as a policy, we implement them, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abhishek. To the point, and the applause acknowledges that. Let me now call upon an entrepreneur who went from an IIT campus to a listed company and a success story of the highest order. Ankit from IdeaForge. If you can get the mic to him.
Hi, sir. Very good afternoon, and thanks for creating this forum so that we can share our ideas and views. I have 3-4 points that I thought will be very important, sir. I think what is very critical is for our forces and for our industry to very, very clearly articulate what is needed for our forces. I think I see that a lot of discussion that I have is all about aping what the adversary has. And I'm not sure if we'll win any war by merely aping what the adversary has. So I think this conversation of parity has to move beyond parity to countering anything that they have. So focusing on that will be very critical, in my opinion. It is very clear to me, sir, from whatever I have done as a study over the last few years of both deploying this technology in our own country, it being on active service on our borders, as well as understanding what is happening globally in the wars, that we need to build resilient systems. They need to be able to operate in the throes of war, which means that all of our systems that we build, we need to know that they need to be resilient to electronic warfare. We need to ensure that the systems that are getting built are uncompromised. And when I say uncompromised, they have to be uncompromised in terms of performance as well. They need to be better performing than our adversary. We cannot merely every time we want to procure, dumb down what we are trying to get in order to make sure that we have a wider participation. I think defense as a department has to lead by ensuring that we have something far better than our adversary. We cannot otherwise win a war, for sure. I think we have to change that mindset when we procure stuff. And secondly, it should be uncompromised in security. We should ensure that even in perhaps iDEX programs, that we do not have critical subsystems emanating from any country of concern. We should also ensure how iDEX is increasing not just our strategic autonomy, but increasing our strategic superiority when we look at how technology is being built. I also believe, sir, that it is very important to focus on autonomy, because if we do not, then we will have a very large debt on training our forces. And training will become our biggest Achilles heel if we merely look at aping what is happening in the throes of war in Ukraine and saying that we'll adopt FPV drones, which are basically hobby drones that need a lot of manual skill to operate. We are not going to win a war against the adversary that we have, because we'll have a huge training debt. We'll have to train millions of soldiers in a technology that's very hard to perfect. And then, sir, is last that now it is very clear to us at least that systems that we buy need to be upgradable in field. Tactics is going to change, as we are seeing in the Ukraine-Russia war. Pretty much every 15 days, 21 days, 45 days, tactics are evolving, new capabilities need to be created to counter the new tactics. And if we do not have upgradability, modularity, and intelligence capability on board, we will have a lot of challenges on our hands. So we should also, in my opinion, think very differently. We should move, at least in defense, and defense should lead that charge in any country, in my opinion, from the mindset of Sasta, Sundar and Tikau to the mindset of Behtar, Kamgar and Bharosemand. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ankit. Excellent frameworks from parity to superiority. And I think that I like the last one the best. Also, I should say, if any of you want to ask questions, please let me know. We can also keep it like a conversation on the stage. Moving from startups and startups that have grown into enterprises now, to people who are working alongside, not just cheerleaders, but supporters. I'll next call upon Special, I think Sunil is here. Sunil? Special Invest is a deep tech fund, and if you want to introduce yourself also.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for having us here this morning. Arjun and I are a part of Special Invest. We are a deep sciences and deep tech focused fund investing in defense technologies, amongst many others. 3 quick points that I would like to make. As a deep tech innovation in general historically has emanated from academic institutions. Our observation today has been that we should be seeing more and more innovations coming out of academic institutions that support the defense tech ecosystem. We don't think we are seeing enough coming out. I know the iDEX program helps partner startups along with certain incubators and accelerators across the country. But encouraging more and more innovations coming out of academia, streamlining them into defense is one way to perhaps take this forward. The second is once these innovations do come out, a quick way to verify whether this actually makes sense in the defense use cases or not is to have certain sandboxes that can be set up for testing of these technologies. Anything that can fast track the validation process for these innovations will go a long way in giving both the startups clarity on whether they are tackling the right problem or the problem requires a lot of attention. And it also gives confidence to investors on the other side, giving validation that this technology stack has a use case in defense that enables faster and easier funding opportunities with a lot more conviction and confidence amongst the investors as well. The third part, I will possibly borrow something from what Ankit mentioned earlier, is the focus on autonomous systems. And I will borrow something from what I heard from Zeus Matrix as well, that we need to focus on building innovations quickly and failing faster. So systems that are smaller, that are quicker to build, that are autonomous in nature, take a lot of precedence going forward. This is what we've observed in global defense innovations as well. I think India is taking the right steps in that direction, but a lot more can be done to accelerate that as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sunil. I think I see a hand which is like a response. Okay, let's get the mic. Let's get it. I will, sir. I think at this point I'll also invite maybe academic representatives. I have 2 names, but I saw sir raise his hand, so let me give him a chance, and then I'll come to the academic representatives. And sir, if you can keep our remarks to within 2 minutes. Can we get the mic up front? And if you could please also identify yourself.
I am Gurudatta Ray. I am CMD Jantara India Limited, a new DPSU. Respected dignitaries on the dais. I will try to speak 3 issues related to accelerated adoption. Rightly told by the initial speakers that Make in India is basically innovation and manufacturing both. In these aspects, I would tell that we should strongly go for concept of metal banks. Because while manufacturing and discussing with many MSMEs and new startups, we could find that country lacks in many of the strategic materials, rather the advanced materials. And we do not have any structured advanced material data sheet also. So because of that, if we are asked to make some alloys, some strategic materials for defense and aerospace, we do not have any data bank or data sheet per se which can tell that which companies are making which advanced material. And third and the most important thing is that our country does not have large material deposits with respect to many of the ores. So the concept of stockpiling is a thing which you should, few people should invest upon. Like a common metal that is copper, that still copper extract is being imported. And we used to heavily depend upon the import of the copper, liquid copper extracts for the copper things, and these two things we wanted to tell. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we now have had representation from DPSUs, from startups, and from investors. Let me bring in Dr. Dinesh Singh from AICTE. Could you, sir? That's it.
Good morning, everyone. Myself, Dr. Dinesh Singh, Director at All India Council for Technical Education. As you all are aware, AICTE is the regulator and enabler for all the engineering institutions in our country. So in the AICTE, we are committed and devoted to bridge the gap between the academia and industry. So we have running nearly 100 institutions are running UG courses in aeronautics and aerospace engineering. MTech in defense technology, nearly 25 institutions are running over the country. And in the degree programs, we are just going to launch this minor degree program in defense technology because it is very hard to start the program in the degree program. So we are starting with the minor degree program with having 18 to 20 credits. Again, we have launched this one minor degree program in space technology with the collaboration of InSpace. Pawan sir is also here with us. So we have launched this one also. We have also the 150 idea labs where any students or faculties from the institutions can develop their idea, can evaluate and applicable to them. And these are the 24/7 labs, and AICTE is totally funding all these labs. Nearly 50 lakhs rupees has been given to nearly 150 institutions for this purpose. And we have also MIC innovation cells. We have 8 innovation centers across India where any faculty member, any institution can go there, can have their innovative ideas, can develop there, and can go for the startup or go for the entrepreneurship programs also there. We have organized nearly every year, we organize international and national hackathons. Singapore hackathons was there, UNESCO Indo-African hackathon we have organized. So in this case, we are developing the innovation.
If I may request you to wrap up and talk about action items that you can suggest.
Yes. Again, we are we are supporting the Kapila scheme. Kapila scheme is for the Kalam program for IP literation and innovation ideas. So for this, we are funding every institution nearly 5.6 lakhs over there, and the 47 institution we are also funding the drone labs. Nearly best 47 institutions has been selected for the establishment of drone labs. We are funding them the 50 lakhs rupees. So here we are trying our best to bridge the gap between the industry and academia. Here all the dignitaries from the industries peoples are also there, startups are also there. So I request all of them to come to AICTE, have an MOU with us or MOU with us so that we can give the best engineers to the industry. If the engineers will not come to you, then definitely the purpose will not be met out.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So if I can summarize, I think there's a lot of intent from AICTE on making its institutes, its regulatory institutes, engage with industry and academia and get the bridges built. So please reach out. I think there's a fair number of universities which have shown interest and have worked as partner incubators as well. Thank you, sir. since we're just down to the last few minutes for this topic, let me bring in somebody who has tried working on the industry-academia collaboration, Vish from Forge.
Thank you. I agree, Mudit, it's not a round table, but it's a rounded table. Two things. I think what we've accomplished through iDEX is we've gotten India's brightest, most ingenious innovators, most ambitious entrepreneurs to look at defense first, right? I think the number is somewhere between 1,000 to 1,500 startups who are what I call defense first, dev first startups. So we've created a path to procurement. We've put a value chain that goes from developing and translating science into tech, into products, and into systems integration, into military industrial production, into procurement. Now we're talking about adoption, accelerating the adoption of futuristic, emerging and futuristic technologies. But it's important to understand the way innovation works in this industrial value chain is something that we have to keep in mind. Now, the demands of industrial production and the demands of military procurement would always work against nascent and emerging and futuristic technologies. It would also always work in favor of mainstream, mature technologies. So this is something that we need to keep in mind. So the decoupling of production and procurement from technology development and translation of technologies into capabilities will have to be given more center stage. Now, how is this done in the industrial world? There are several industrial sectors where we're seeing large industrial majors engage with startups as partners, as innovation partners, as technology partners across the life cycle of these startups. So they create value with startups and they capture value through startups at the technology stage, at the product stage, at the sort of go-to-market business growth, and ultimately the growth stage. So this corporate innovation, corporate venturing model, which is very successful, right? It works as grand challenges, technology accelerators, corporate venture capital programs, corporate venture studios. All of these programs have to be made part of the iDEX ecosystem. And how we go about it, my suggestion, we have to bring the DPSUs and the private industrial majors to implement these corporate innovation and corporate venture development, corporate venturing programs. And iDEX should have mini iDEXs running in these DPSUs. Now, iDEX, the framework is proven. We have over 600 projects, so we have the SOPs laid out. So it will be fantastic to see defense production move into defense innovation as well. So the DPSUs can run these iDEX, smaller iDEX departments, and we can work collectively to strengthen those capabilities. NADP Nagpur can be leveraged to bring those techno-managerial capabilities that are important to manage innovation, to manage product development. So I would leave it at that, Mudit. Thank you.
Thank you, Vish. I think there's no evidence better than seeing more propagation, and mini iDEXs would make a family of iDEXs. Thank you. Very actionable item. I think we've heard from a variety of stakeholders. We'll probably keep a little bit of time for those who haven't had a chance to speak. Let me now move on to the next topic, where we'll have a lot more depth, because this is an area where India still has a long way to go, which is on the integration of dual-use technologies between defense and civil sectors. Many of you have shared some ideas, but this is some place where I would say we are still at the incipient stages of identifying the routes, identifying what needs to be done, and then getting it done. Let me start with Mr. Ankit from Wadhwani Foundation. They've been on the entrepreneurship side. Ankit, if you could identify yourself and please requesting everybody to keep your remarks to 2 minutes. We have a timer, and I'll
Hi everyone, good morning. This is Ankit. I'm from Wadhwani Foundation. We're a global not-for-profit philanthropic initiative. One of our programs where we run largest support program for early stage startups, and many of them are in the defense and security as well. One of the area that I wanted to comment on the previous topic as well as linking this is a lot of these startups that we support, we see very few in the defense security, primarily because there's a lack of understanding whether this innovation will translate into commercialization. That's something I think Spatial Invest guy also spoke about. And my suggestion to this is like create a massive training, mass capacity building program to help innovators understand. And of course, this will involve DPSUs, this will involve ministries as well, to whether this innovation is going to be a commercialization either in the ministry or in the corporate sector. And they also need to understand the business side of it, whether this can create a business angle, which will fast track the entire investment process as well. So that's my one action line, where we need to work all 28 incubators, more iDEXs, mini iDEXs that Vish talked about, create a large-scale capacity building on the ground level, students, early innovators, startups, and MSMEs as well, to understand whether the technology will make successful commercialization. So that's something I have to.
Thank you. Very sharp, precise point that early on the incubators need to help companies make a civilian use as well. By the way, I should recognize that when the partner incubators were identified, one of their mandates was to make sure that the businesses had a commercial orientation as well. We weren't sure of the 2,000 crore procurements. That was not on the horizon at all. That's been a pleasant outcome. But we wanted that the companies should have a commercial orientation so that they're able to sustain themselves. And that, I think, is now coming back, but I think we need a lot more. Let me bring in Mr. Madan Gopal P. from METI Startup. They've also identified themselves. I will.
Good morning, sir. And this is Paneer Selva Madan Gopal from CEO of METI Startup of Ministry of Electronics and IT. So two aspects that I would like to look at. I mean, I've been part of the iDEX program in another capacity before. First and foremost is the collaboration possibilities in the electronics space in defense with the Ministry of Electronics and IT, because we at MSH have a very significant program running for the electronics and IT, especially with deep tech focus. So we would be very keen to collaborate with the iDEX platform, and we know this is one of the premier model for collaboration in the startup space. So that's the first, as we can see, between inter-ministry collaboration possibilities. Second is also the capacity building, because with DPIT, with METI, with Ministry of Defense, so we are all doing multiple programs in the capacity building program, capacity building part. It would be great to kind of synergize and synthesize this effort, because for us, the Tier 2, Tier 3 cities are also focus areas, and women in tech. Some of the areas which are wanting to kind of synthesize and synergize could be a great opportunity to build together, right? And once again, congratulations to the entire iDEX team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I've gotten a reminder. This should feel like a roundtable. So if there are any people who haven't put their name on this and want to share some ideas, maybe we can give a few minutes. Let me take the lady here. We haven't had a lady speaker yet. And then I'll come to you in the blue jacket towards the end.
Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Srimati from Space Kids India. Well, we have won the Aditi Challenge for the deployers. It's a dual, of course, work for defense as well as space industry. But yet there is a question as to how much of procurement is going to be after we come up with the validation and everything. And being the only woman founder, I think we need to have more women on the table here for the deep tech, because there is always a question whether technology and women go hand in hand, especially in defense. And so there I would like to make a humble request. If the women are not looked upon similarly with regards to the funding process, because it's a huge take there. When we invest about 4 to 5 crores, I think it's a big question mark whether we get back the money or not. So there are a lot of questions whether people are going to support us and all that. So maybe I would humbly request that maybe for a few years, if there are any women winners, you have to give some waiver, some leeway, some percentages. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sharp, precise action point. Let me go towards the rear. I have a hand right at the end. We'll give the mic to you. Please identify yourself and keep your comments short.
Hello, sir. This is Tanvi from Digantara. So I would say the first sort of a suggestion I had on iDEX is something along the lines where, let's say an Aditi project is coming out, let's say about 50 crores. can we also have sort of, if everything goes well, if the product is built as per the requirement of the end user, a pledge of perhaps 100 crores or 150 crores of contracts that is pledged while the challenge is being released? This sort of gives a different motivation for a company to build the product, and also the rest of the 50 to 75% money that we have to put in. It gives a very huge leeway to raise funds from institutional funds to raise money and build the technology in a very accelerated manner. Second suggestion would be a suggestion to sort of create a health monitoring system for the entire iDEX value chain. Right from when idea is created, it's announced, applications are submitted, HPS is created, declaration of winners, signing of contract, completion of product, and production order. What is the timeline at each of these, between each of these milestones, and is this timeline reducing? I think that is a key monitoring parameters is something that we have to get. If something gets measured, I think it will improve. I'm not sure if this is something that is existing, and is it something actually working? Perhaps a discussion next time if we have some sort of a work done before Manthan, wherein startup these issues are identified, and issues where there are huge timelines, they are sort of selectively picked up and discussed. I think that will be much more impactful. Third would be, I mean, everyone likes to hear that every technology in iDEX is dual use, but reality is it's not. Few technologies are inherently, the business cases exist only in government and nothing else. So there are some challenges like that, there are some problem statements like that. So institutional funders or VC money is not, it's difficult, it's a hard sell for them to fund the matching contribution in problems which are government only, and there are no real use case. So in those kind of situation, having a pledged amount becomes much more important than mainstream challenges. So these would be my 3 suggestions, sir.
Thank you. Very precise points on the health monitor. Could not agree with you more. I think we'll take this action item.
What was his third point?
That not. Do you want to repeat the third
he
point?
He says that government only thinks the iDEX is winning or something.
No, I think I came out in the wrong point.
Please elaborate on
what
that.
I meant, what I meant is there are certain challenges in which are not dual use. These are only government use only. Right? There is no market that is existing in the private ecosystem, in the commercial ecosystem, where we can utilize the IP that is created and make money in the commercial sector. There are good amount of problem statements where market exists only with governments. So those kind of challenges have to be called out and perhaps handled in a slightly different way than problem statements that have a commercial and defense potential both.
How would you a priori decide that whether it has got civilian use or not? I don't think we are competent, at least my side of people are not competent to decide. But give a suggestion on this whenever you have more time to think over it.
So right now I think one sort of challenge is out on space weather. It's an Aditi challenge. I would just take an example of that. I myself have been on the
If I can request this comment, if you can email it to the team, we'll be sure to take it to the leadership. Thank you. A lot more hands have now come up. Let me see, there's one in the middle, just the beginning, further behind him.
And also allows CMD-HL to respond, and he should also respond to that legitimate, very nice question that defense iDEX, defense PSU iDEX. So what he is doing in HL.
Will do, sir.
Good afternoon. Anup Anand from Altair Infrasector. Just a simple point. Innovation needs capital. Capital needs certainty. Innovation, therefore, needs certainty. Thank you.
I think this deserves a round of applause for the conciseness of the idea. Thank you. Can I invite CMDHL?
A quick point in response to the person who said that we need to have a dedicated fund and that dual use is not there. If you look at some of the technologies which have been promoted by Unitex in US, where Pentagon collaborated with Silicon Valley. The underwater submarine drone first started off as a military one, and the military did not buy large numbers. But today, the same company, I forget the company's name, but they're a multi-billion-dollar company, and they're doing in commercial. That is, they have towed arrays, doing sea studies, weather patterns, and so on. So I think it's too premature to say whether a technology which starts for defense will not have commercial uses. I think that's a very broad statement that I don't agree. Just to take on the other point, that funds for in the iDEX for DPSUs, HAL and BEL, Bharat Electronics, are partners in promoting the DIU. So the funds are available, and we're definitely willing to go forward and put in more funds.
Let me add, CMD Saab, with your consent, presumed consent, if not explicit consent, that this is a very good point, that selling directly to the armed force is a difficult proposition. So defense PSUs, which are very big, start with, afterwards private big industries also are in the defense sector, has to nurture these iDEX winners and have to provide a long-term commitment and pathway to get integrated in the supply chain, and definite pathway. I understand you would have challenge on your procurement policy, but those procurement policy need to be amended. Then probably we will have much more startup coming into the supply chain of the big platform makers, including defense PSU. The gentleman who raised this question want to probably elaborate.
The point is that the innovation in the futuristic technologies, emerging futuristic technologies, always happens at the component level, at the subsystem level, right? So that's precisely the point. And we don't have to,
we understand that, and we have been discussing with our defense PSU. We'll take it forward, certainly.
One more additional point. We talked about the dual use. What is even more important is multi-use. Multi-use within the services. You take ASR radars, you take sensors, the amount of proliferation of end applications for each of these core product technologies is humongous. So let's also give even more importance to multi-use, and multi-use is absolutely DPSU territory.
Multi-use at the component level. Thank you.
At the component
Can
level.
I invite the gentleman at the front?
And another point, just I take this opportunity to, another point is very good, that linear testing, linear regime of testing also need to undergo a change, because it's becoming too cumbersome, too time taken, and costly also. So we have to work on that too.
Sir, the discussion became so interesting and the points were coming up so well. I have just two points which I'll highlight. If you take a cycle of so-called the development, there is a ideation, there is a product development, then product development is refinement, after refinement is industrialization, and then it is absorption by the stake user. Now take a look, for ideation and the first part, a certain amount of capital is coming. But when you have to move from that product development to the refined product, which is actually the need, you need capital. By that time, you have already finished the money which had come to you. And that's the place where we need some more funding to come in so that these people are able to convert. Then is industrialization, and that's where, sir, what you were mentioning is very important, that the larger industries or anchor industries can help industrialize that product which can be taken forward. The second point was, and I tend to agree, most of the breakthrough technologies will not come at platform level. They'll come at subsystem level. Correct. Take a look at AI. It may be a modern name, but man out of loop for defense has been going on for decades. So AI has always been there in defense systems. Now these systems will need to be taken onto something, some platform. And that platform invariably will come from larger industries. And that's why a concept of an anchor industry coming along with the development phase will go a long way in taking care of this.
Thank you, sir. Very important point. That will be a great segue into the next section, our third topic.
Just last.
But there's,
sir,
in the
Sir, I'm Commander Puranik. I'm from Mazgon Docks. Regarding DPSUs taking up iDEX, I think GRSC has not spoken. We have started this in the last board meeting. We have approved a Mazgon Dock innovation program, which is similar to iDEX, and 1 crore per program.
उम्मीद ये है कि आप नए प्रोग्राम मत लॉन्च करो, iDEX को
तो हमारे नहीं उनका प्रॉब्लम
ये सारे बेचारे हर
डिपार्टमेंट
का, हर कंपनी का स्टार्टअप प्रोग्राम को ही अटेंड करते हुए पूरा साल गुजार देंगे.
नहीं sir, that program will be driven by us. What we need, like what they're saying is
run through iDEX only, and the point is the important point is have long-term definitive support. Sign
Correct,
an agreement which exists for 7 to 10 years.
So
Not
what-
do कि आज किया फिर कल दूसरा आ गया फिर कोई मैनेजर आया बोला नहीं ये मेरे को नहीं
No,
चाहिए,
that's why,
नई technology
that's
आ
why
गई,
it's
not
being
like-
run by the company, sir. We want to run it by the company so that what I need in my platforms, I develop it and nurture it.
A delightful interaction. And there is a sense of tension which roundtables should bring in, where there are conflicting views. I'm very glad. I should recognize, sir, Mazagaon Dog was one of the earliest adopters of iDEX, almost 5-7 years ago. Vivek, you can add on if you want. They were really good supporters, and I'm very glad that maybe a sense of both. They are, of course. I really have to get into the third topic, but what we will do is keep some time at the end for an open conversation. But Secretary Sir and Mr. Bhatia had a very good point on the linear versus spiral development. And that is critical to this third point, which is achieving global standards in testing and certification. We're getting into the nuances, we're getting into the weeds a little bit, but this is where we need to solve things collectively together so that more companies can get into exports, can get into adoption, procurement. So we'll now talk about achieving global standards in testing and certifications through indigenous capabilities. And we have some names. Let me see if, did you want to start, Julius? Or were you raising your hand for the previous one? Previous one, but I'll come back to you then. Sure, good. Please identify yourself also.
I'm Nikunj Parashar, founder Sagar Defense Engineering. We are here today only due to iDEX. To put across, we have raised over $60 million due to iDEX. I have my investors also sitting here. We have 5 iDEX projects, 3 we have completed with signed contracts across. 2 points, sir, especially across is we are platform builders. And when we say platform builders, we are actually competitors to MDL, GRSC, HSL. That's where we compete for. MDL was our starting supporter in terms of autonomous underwater vehicle for iDEX. But biggest challenge in maritime is, sir, and for a small example, I would like to say is if we take pen and paper and write our name here, it's very easy. But if you take the same pen and paper, go in a swimming pool, go right at the bottom and try to write it. The most simple problem becomes complex and very expensive to solve. We do not have a seaboard testing facility at all. This is the biggest challenge when you're looking at maritime. With 7,600 plus line of a coastline, we do not have testing facility at all. So imagine a startup building a platform. How does he go about it? So you have to come up with innovative business case where your customer has to support you. We have been lucky to get a fleet, go out at sea with a fleet. So we need to have 2 testing facilities, sites on the western and as well as on the eastern side. Second point with respect to, again, maritime, sir, and here I will include aviation. Our DAP still doesn't have a policy. So in platforms when we take, we add a lot of sensors. For one sensor, I can go to II, ELTA, anybody else, and then I can have 3 to 4 resellers who can come with different costs. But moment I take a drone, and for example, I am an OEM of a drone across, and if I go and participate in the same contract with 3 different resellers, I really bring down the competition. This is a bigger challenge in terms of policy level. So a policy level in terms of competition has to come up where the resellers who are participating cannot come from the same OEM when that platform is being used independently. So these are 2 problem statements which we have been facing across in terms of test facility, and second in terms, especially on the aviation side in terms of platform, where larger players, they bid along with 3 different resellers, and they have a higher advantages. And DAP does not have for it, though Competition Council of India has it. But imagine smaller startups which are participating cannot go to CCI and fight across it. That's all, sir. Thank you.
Very important, crucial points. Since he's picked up the topic of maritime testing, let me see if there's another comment on this topic. If anybody wants to talk about maritime before I move on. Gentleman here. Right there, yeah. So please introduce yourself, and if you're on the maritime topic then.
Hi, I'm Narsingh Rao. I'm from Binford, and we are working with 2 iDEX projects on counter-UAS solutions and 1 for the Navy for shipboard autonomous systems. My thing actually adds to my friend from Sagar, where we have this issue of aerial testing, right? So there are, we are left to our own devices, and sometimes we are probably testing it in IIT Hyderabad somewhere where it is open and there's nobody to ask us questions. But really, it would be very nice if we had, especially for things like kinetic hard kill systems. We haven't even got to the point in our development cycle where we are talking about explosives. That chain itself, again, is a very complex one, where we have no support from the people who are actually experts in the processes of procure, handle, test, and use the ranges for the explosive munitions on small UAVs. So
Thank you.
Something that
very specific point. Thank you. I don't know, do we have anybody from DGQA or DGAQA? Do we want to bring in any other conversation? Would you like to share something, sir?
Good morning, everybody. So I'm Manoharan, DGQA. So as far as the testing facilities are concerned, we really invited industry to come forward for the gaps, whatever is there. I request Sagar and so we can bring up the requirements to us. So we will analyze, because we are already, as far as the explosives and ammunitions are concerned, we have almost most of the test facilities available. And I, as DG, I never came to know that you have a problem on this issue. So kindly bring it to us. We will resolve to that. Even if any other gap is there in the land systems and the shipbuilding, so we are ready to upgrade ourselves, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's a vote of confidence, and glad that iDEX could serve the platform of getting this conversation going. Sir, I have a response.
DGQ has just said. We are in the process of finding out the gap in testing facilities in the country. So I can't promise that we can find out all the answer, because testing of such type of equipment require area, much larger area, and also sometimes technology and resources both. But at least now we have decided to list the requirement, and in coming years certainly we'll provide those testing facilities.
I think there's now a demand pull for this issue. I have a hand there somewhere. Can we get the mic to him, please? Identify yourself and short comments, please.
Sir, good morning. My name is Kripalu Manthan. I'm founder of Parallax Labs. We are a simulator company. We are Redefining Defence winners. There are two topics I want to touch upon. One is the recent procurement that is being taken care by the Army for tank simulators. So largely, I would generalize the problem that we are having. One is that we had to go a long process of capability and capacity assessment by the DGQA, number one, which is fine. We understand the process. Again, then we had to go for the industrial license, which is a requirement of DPIIT, which again is put by the Army. So both processes are a very long-run process. They might take 6 months, 1 year. Can we have certain relaxation for iDEX companies, which evaluation has already been taken care during their iDEX procedure itself? So, both process of CACV as well as, procuring an industrial license.
Short answer is that relaxation, instead of looking for relaxation, we will look for the synergy of whatever already has been examined by one institution of government should be used by the other institute of government without asking further question.
Sir.
That synergy,
yes.
we will both would look and
yes,
find out.
DPIIT and DGQA and DGAQA, if they can work together for us. That's first. Second is, going back to HAL, this comes from a conversation with an AGM yesterday, where we have been clearly told that the divisions of HAL may not follow the DAP rules for procurement for iDEX. So we have been told that HAL does not actually follow the procurement policy that is mentioned under DAP for iDEX companies, and we have had many missed opportunities where we have not been eligible for the procurement.
They will develop their own policies, which I believe would be much simpler than DAP.
Sir.
Correct. Yeah, we should clarify. Defense acquisition procedures are for the defense.
Yes.
And the DPSUs will have their own procedures. So that expectation, I'm not sure is
anything that can be done for iDEX. In those open tenders would be a big relaxation, because actual procurement, like you said, by selling to tri-services might be difficult compared to selling to DPSUs. Over there, we are not able to cross that pre-qualification criteria zone.
Point noted, but as the Secretary said, maybe the DPSUs might be faster, simpler, more nimble. So not sure if that's but point well taken.
I would like to clarify that we've made a lot of changes in our procurement policy. In the previous years, these points have come up. And specific to startups, we have made changes in our purchase policy. So if somebody has given you, I think there is a mistake. It is now tuned. There are concessions, these pre-qualifications have been removed, and our purchase policy caters for this now.
Sir, would request an offline conversation. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for the
Yeah, please take this offline. I do need to cut back to my topic on the testing and certification. So if there are comments here, sir, can I request, get the mic here, please? If you could identify yourself.
Can I just add, sir, testing facility, one way to do, which we have explored in Mazgon Docs is, I have, through CSR, corporate social responsibility, sponsored development of a circulating tank to test all hydrodynamic tests, which we used to so far do from abroad. So IIT Chennai, about 4.5 crores we have committed, and they're developing the tank. So one way to do is this, that we can have companies with academia develop these test facilities where research is going on.
Maybe we can do a case study of a good practice on this example.
I will say allocation of resources, so this can come from anywhere. Thank you did it. Yesterday only, I think day before yesterday, testing portal has been launched by Honorable Minister in this very hall, which will be transparently available to all. And more testing facilities within the control of industry, within the control of our DGQA, Armed Forces, DRDO, and also I would exhort the Research Institute would be onboarded on it. We will take a campaign to onboard maximum test facility on this portal so that it seamlessly become available to all of you. If you have any problem in accessing those test facilities, please come to us. If you are able to find out some test facilities which are not onboarded, please come to us. We will make sure that these are onboarded.
Thank you, sir, for that vote of confidence. Let me just take 2 last comments before I open it up for the audience. I have one more very eager hand coming up, another lady there. If you can get the mic to her. Identify yourself, short comments.
Hi, my name is Neha Mishra. I am from Society of Indian Defence Manufacturers. My input is just on the advanced materials part. It has been focused on multiple sectors, but for me, what I believe that currently startups should be added into the supply chain to add the value to the supply chain, because the future is in the advanced materials. The future is in the security of those sources. And currently we have this critical mineral mission going on, supported by the government. So we should add the value to here as well, and how the startups can be a part of this engagement by collaborating with multiple countries outside, so that we can be big players as well the startups, compiling and adding to the value supply chain. Yeah, that's my input.
Thank you. That point adds to what the gentleman from YIL earlier mentioned on materials. If there's anybody who has a point on material testing or any kind of strength testing, if there's any input there, gentleman on the rightmost, identify yourself and if you're on this topic.
Hi, myself Manveen Chadha. I'm the Senior Incubation Manager with FITT IIT Delhi. So we are working with iDEX portfolio team around 70 challenges. My take on certification and on the topic that you're talking, not only on the material side. So see, there are a lot of labs which exist not only in IITs, but maybe ISRO, HAL, BL, they have a lot of testing labs. I think we should have a combined list readily available, which already exist. And still some of our startups, when they reach at milestone 3, 4, where they have to go for the testing certifications. And it's not only about just ISO certified or just, I would say you need a safety check, you need a cyber security testing, you need a material testing. So lot of such testings are required at a particular for a single challenge, and startups are not aware about it. Even as a partner incubator, we have some idea because we have experienced a lot of such challenges in the past, and we all accordingly guide them. But if there is a specific list, because already as iDEX had now a round of experience, around 600 such projects. So they know that, okay, these will be the challenges that required, and this will be the certifications or the regulations needed. I think if that is ready, it's easy for startups to start working on it when they reach at the initial milestone 3, so that by the end of milestone 4, 5, there should not be much delay, and they can easily cross that within a timeline, which is a strict need of an hour, where we have to complete the project in a timeline manner. And in terms of material testing, if you're saying, so like IITs also had a good lab in IIT Delhi, but there is a time slot. maybe the startup will get chance after 1.5 months. So they can't wait for so long. If that kind of a priority can be there with the help of iDEX and Ministry of Defence, I think it will be easy for them to access at a very faster stage.
Thank you. I think that's a very solid recommendation. There was an Office of PSA initiative called iSTEM. I don't know if many of you have taken advantage of that, which allowed access to labs. I think we are short of time. 2 more points, sir, if I can. Yeah, please identify yourself. And
Hari Kumar from BEL. On this point, many of the DPSUs have put out their test facilities on offer to, like BEL has 189 test facilities across the country on offer to startups. Only problem is there is availability. So what ministry has come up with is now a scheme called DTIS, Defense Testing and Infrastructure Scheme, which many of the DPSUs are supporting. So across both the UP and Tamil Nadu corridors, we have test facilities coming up for electro-optics, EW, communications, then UAVs, materials too. So this is something that we should not only just look at testing, their certification also we should, so that these labs can certify and the startups can really take off to even not only Indian defense, to abroad too. So that way we could expand thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think I have now time for only 2 or 3 more comments, and I'll try and limit it to startups also. Sir, if I can. Please, Arun.
Good morning, sirs. Anil Anand from Altair Infrasec. Regarding the testing facilities, I think we need to look ahead and say that when we are exporting, what are the standards that the global customers are going to follow? Will they accept Indian standards? Will they expect and accept NATO standards? What will they accept? And we should be building towards that. Those are the facilities, and that is what the Bureau of Indian Standards needs to be working at and looking to consolidate a combined, perhaps, mix and match.
This work is already going on. JS, PNC is part of that committee with BIS, and they're working on that. It's a very difficult question to answer on behalf of purchaser, that what type of standard they are looking for. So we want to align our standard with the NATO standards, because most of the export probably initially would take place in that direction. So we are trying to do that. Our testing facility then start testing in that direction. A working group is already working on this. Certainly we'll see partial success initially, then probably better success in future.
Very glad to hear that, sir.
Maybe what I can do is ask, we have companies which have exported in the last few years. If any of you have experience of getting tested for NATO standards or other standards, the GS Penta 5 or something, share that experience. Anybody who can share experience of having gone through international certification? Ankit, maybe I'll take one more. Ankit.
So I think typically the way to look at testing is that there are many standards that are available. There are certain Millgate standards, there are certain standards around IP that are IEC standards, and then there is JSS Penta 5. So usually what we have seen is that most contracts come with a mix of those standards, because certain standards don't exist in, let's say JSS Penta 5 does not have all the standards. So certain standards we have to take from Millgrade, certain standards we have to take from this. We could perhaps create a parity between JSS Penta 5 standard equivalent to Millgrade standard, and that kind of mapping could help create a dual certification. Once you clear one standard, you sort of clear on other standards as well. So there could be that exercise.
Can I ask you to double click on that a little bit? What was the experience? How did you do it? How did you do it? Maybe if you go
So typically there are many labs in the country who are NABL accredited to run specific tests. And what we do is we go and leverage those facilities by paying them the charge for that testing facility, and we get that. So yes, I mean, you won't find everything at one place. It is a lot of expense, because sometimes if your equipment is very large, you have to transport it from one location to another because the labs are in some other place. But we do have a lot of, I would say, also unutilized testing infrastructure in the country. There are certain very specific tests that probably it's very hard to find. Let's say somebody wants to do a snow test. So there are some testing facilities which will be hard to find. Maybe we can identify those extra blocks, but there is a reasonable spread of testing facilities in the country. And
let me just intervene
one could
here.
go and do.
Basically, testing facilities which are available, let me again say, available with the DRDO, DPSU, DGQA, DGAQA have been onboarded on the portal which has been launched day 4 yesterday. We are saying that their capacity, their booking, their unutilized capacity, all would be seamlessly available now on the portal. So, as he said, that sometimes test facility is available, but people are not aware. That problem is taken care of. More and more labs would be onboarded. That's what I requested, that if you are aware that certain labs are capable of testing it, outside even defense control, please bring to our notice. We'll work with them to onboard them. Third thing I said, that gaps in the testing facilities, DGQA has already been tasked to identify those gaps so that we can start building those test facilities, and request all of you to notify the gaps which you see in the test facility. Fourth, that all test facilities should come under one roof, because the bigger platform to move from one place, let's say South India to North India, from winter testing to the summer testing becomes a hell lot of a job and costly. We are working on a proposal which has already been submitted. Hopefully it will see the day of the light, of creating a national integrated test facility which can test for all weather, all type of temperature, etc., etc. We are building on that. Hopefully it would come in 3-4 years.
So I just had one more additional point that I wanted to speak for a
really wrap up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quickly.
So we, we are an example now that we have a platform, the Switch UAV, which is certified to be fit for military use by DGQA. Now, how do we, as a country, take such prestigious qualifications and make it a global product? I think we have to think of ways in which, both as a country and as, of course, a business, we are able to leverage it more effectively by making something like this acceptable in other countries, or help them educate why this is as important a certification as it is, so that more people can adopt our platforms more rapidly.
Thank you. I think that's the point which will require a session of its own. How do we take our standards, our equipment global? But we really are coming at the end of it. Of course, the iDEX team is very open. I will invite the team, our leaders on the stage to
just
share.
to summarize something.
Shows the excitement. Okay.
Yeah. Just we have already identified more than 7,000 types of tests, so which is already available and listed in the defense testing portal yesterday, which has been launched. So as far as the subsystem and component level, any kind of environmental test which you want, it is almost available. It is high temperature, low temperature, humidity, altitude, so vibration, bump, so drop, anything you want, it is already available with us. So which will be made available, you can come through us. So you are already aware of the DGQA test facilities, so we are there to, even if any gap is there which anybody identifies, please let us know. We are creating already so many other gaps, test facilities also we are creating. This also will be created. So there is nothing to fear about. Only thing is you have to inform us, so that once we know, we will solve the problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I need to bring the conversation to a close, but the iDEX team is very open for conversations. If I can just request the iDEX team to raise its hand. Please take your ideas to them. If you can just raise your hands wherever you are. We have people all around the room, and they are here at Aero India and today. So you can take your suggestions to them, which will be relayed properly. But let me just close with requesting the leaders, if there are points that they want to share. Mr. Goenka, if you want to start.
So thank you, everyone. Very good discussion, very useful comments and inputs that have come. Of course, my interest is limited to space sector right now, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with in space, because one of our roles is to promote private sector in space. And many things that you talked about are generic and work for space also. I won't go into each point, but just make 3 or 4 observations from what you have said. The point about academia, government, industry collaboration is a point that we have been talking about for 2 decades. And there is no magic wand by which it can be done. But I can tell you this, that there is more happening than what many of us believe in terms of collaboration between academia and industry. Many of the IITs are doing several hundred crores of funded research by industry every year. Office of PSA right now is tasked with coming out with a very sort of powerful way of how can government sort of make it happen even more rapidly. I agree with the point of no new policies, execution and speed is important. I think everybody sitting here on the dais will fully agree with that, and I think the focus now in government has moved to execution. Now, having spent all my career in industry and being in the government last 3-4 years, I have a good understanding of the pain points of the industry and the effort that the government is putting in, and also the constraints that the government works with. And I think you need to appreciate that the current disposition in the government really is to be very, very friendly to industry in all sectors, and work with even nuclear energy. I think now they're opening up for the industry, and work with the industry to make things happen. And that's the reason why we are having a conference like this today, and senior people are sitting here and listening to all of you. One of the things that was not mentioned was specifically was spin-off technology. And I think there is a big role that can be played by taking technology from one sector to another sector, defense to space, space to defense, to automotive, to medical devices, to aerospace. And there's so much happening when I look at ISRO. The kind of technology that ISRO has can be applied to many other sectors in a big way. And again, we need to put in some concerted effort to make that happen. I think global standards, somebody mentioned towards the end, I couldn't agree more with that. I think our thought cannot be about how we can manage Indian requirement. And Indian requirement should not in any case be inferior to global requirement, but we have to look at how can we become an export house, no matter which area we are in. And therefore, Sasta Sundar Tikau is certainly not the way to go. And I think most of you are now not in that sort of thought process, that let me somehow sell something to somebody. You're also always looking at that aspiration beyond that. Strategic material, somebody mentioned. It's a very important point, and I fully agree that in many sectors, we are falling short of strategic sector. And very often the problem is not about technology, it's about the scale. There isn't enough volume for some of the strategic materials for Indian industry to develop those. And we need to somehow aggregate the requirements in different sectors for same kind of material to create that scale, and then the industry will invest in that. I think these are the points that I wanted to make. And testing point that was talked quite a bit. I didn't realize how much of a pain point testing infrastructure is for the industry. At the same time, you also heard that there is a lot available already in various defense establishment. In space, that problem is easier because ISRO has all the infrastructure, and through InSpace, we are making all the infrastructure of ISRO available to the private sector. InSpace is also setting up its own infrastructure for testing. And obviously, it's a very expensive proposition for individual companies to spend money in that. And therefore, the three combinations of using established, already available infrastructure to set up new where there are gaps, and to make a list of what's already available in the private sector to be used, I think will more or less take care of that problem. But the pain point perhaps is a little more than what I had realized in terms of testing infrastructure. So I'll stop there. I can go on, but pass it on.
Thank you.
A couple of points from my side also. So one of the things which was pointed out was with regard to industry and startup collaboration, that we need to deepen that. And there are some inherent challenges there. So we have been pushing this, especially the last 6 months that I've been there in this department. We have been entering MOUs with industries and asking with specific companies and pushing them to outsource problem statements to the startups, and maybe that's a good starting point. But we have a grand challenge, running grand challenge, which during this 10th year we are running throughout the year, and we are hopeful that at least 75 to 100 problem statements they'll be able to give, and some good problem statements are coming up, through which we hope that this will deepen this collaboration. But yes, there are some good ideas which have come up, which we'll also try to take on board and see what can be done. The second thing which Sanjeev also mentioned was the convergence part of it. How do we converge the various initiatives which have been taken up? We don't need new policies, but we need action points. And that's what is the mantra which is told, which is accepted in the government. We have the cross-cutting initiatives which are taken by DPIIT, which run across this sector. Then sector-specific are taken by the various departments. I think we need to activate to ensure that we converge together. This huge facility of pooling the testing facilities on one portal and making it available, giving the visibility to everyone of the availability as well as the manner in which it can be used is a great step taken by Sanjeev and his team. And I'm very sure that more and more labs will come on board, and we'll also, I think, maybe sit together and see how this can also be extended beyond the defense sector, because this is something which should be available to other than defense startups also. One thing, I don't know whether it's an issue or not, but if accreditation, NABL accreditation of labs is an issue, I think maybe later on also, if any streamlining or any improvement, any suggestions are there which are required to be done, you can please pass it on to us so that we can also take it up through QCI that accreditation can be taken care of. We have a number of suggestions, number of other suggestions which have come up, which are all noted and very good inputs. Already it has been discussed about industrial licensing. How do we reduce the time for iDEX startups and as well as others? We'll immediately take steps on it. If any other inputs are also there for DPIIT, you're most welcome to reach out and let us know. We'll continue to build, like Mr. Goenka said, that academia, industry, startup collaboration, how do we deepen it? It's a continuing challenge. Some good work has happened in these hubs which are there, but we need to deepen it further. We'll continue to do that. I'll also like to mention before I close about materials. Materials is an issue which is coming up again and again, and materials is advanced materials is an extremely important area which needs to be addressed. And I think we'll have to look at the entire thing, the skills available, the amount, the technology also, the resources, the financing for that part, as well as the demand part of it. The entire thing has to be looked at, maybe part of the manufacturing mission. This also can be one of the areas which is a very critical area. We can see how this can be looked at. Very interesting session. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity once again, Sanjeev and his team. Thank you.
I just want to add one more point. This didn't come up too much in what you guys talked about, but Sanjeev ji had alluded to it in his opening remarks about repeat orders. And I think one of the biggest problem in both the space industry and defense industry that comes up is that orders come in bunches and then there's no visibility for future order. I don't know what the solution is because that's the nature of the beast, so to say. But that's the problem. So industry cannot really invest in infrastructure for production. And I don't know if defense has given some thought to it, and if you can talk a little bit about it. In space, we still don't know how we can create that sort of continuity of order.
I think that will be a point of conversation and discussion for several years. So, I think.
Thank you very much. I'm really thankful to all of you for being present and giving very nice suggestions. Suggestions, in fact, cover the entire gamut of the things, and wonderful suggestions have come. I'm also thankful to Mr. Pawan Goenka and Amardeep Singh Bhatia to take time out from their extremely busy schedule and to interact with you. We have noted all the suggestions. Certainly we'll work on them. This issue of academia and the startup ecosystem teaming up together, working together, as Mr. Pawan Goenka said, it's not something which we are hearing today, which we have been hearing since the days we were in the institute, we were in the studying. And it's not that nothing has been done, but it's also equally true that not much is visible to the people who are not part of the system. what we have decided internally in the Ministry of Defence a couple of months back, that's why we invited academic institution today here. So we'll work with 3, 4, 5 academic institutions and understand what further can be done, because they also have their own issues. We also have our issues. You also have our issues. So we'll concentrate on that. If we can make.
But at the same time, if Indian Institute of Science was not here in Bangalore,
things wouldn't have come up. So they are catalyst. If not collaborator in each project, certainly they are catalyst. Thus we need to agree with that. But it's good. Dil mange more. We want more and more. So it's still good. Dual use, we have worked. So when I said dual use, I never mean that from military to the civil. Earlier, that was the time that from military to civil. Now, I can see a reverse trend. Civilian technologies are much more advanced in certain fields than military technology. And I also like the spin-off that the dual use does not mean military and civil binary. It also means that between the services across the platform. And from there, we can draw that when the innovation are happening at the component level, then this issue of orders coming in patches would also be taken care of if the major platform integrator identifies those components which can be used across the platform, because platforms order either of the 3 services coming regularly. So that's why the role of DPSU and major integrator come, and they have to create their procurement policy, which not only encourage a startup but nurture and also give a path of further investment, further purchasing, selling, taking over of that startup, whatever way we want to go. But that path of procurement and integrating in the value chain has to be provided by DPSUs and major industry platform in the defense sector. And that's like the case of detonator. Electronic detonator is the need, and India is not producing those quality of electronic detonators. And these are useful across the platform. So if somebody innovate them, then the integrator like MIL or integrator like BL can certainly provide continuous orders so that the startup can start investing. So there's a solution available, not for all the issues, but some of the issues the solution are available. I like this idea of not having linear approach in testing. We'll work with our forces and find out what can be done in this regard. We also have to understand that they have been working in this manner from their day of creation. So they are also agreeing that let's say in the time of war, we all forget the linear approach of testing. So we go, whatever is available, test it in the field and then come back and say, this is good, this is not good. So some sort of amalgamation of these 2 testing approach can be developed for iDEX. I also agree that milestones should be measured in terms of how much time we are taking between different milestones. That we have already started doing. And next time, when we meet you in whichever forum, me or JS or anybody from the iDEX, would give you this report that on an average, how much time we are taking from one milestone to another milestone, and also the extreme cases where we have taken much, much more time, and would also explain the reason and understand what better we can do in that regard. I also, must appreciate this idea of autonomous weapon, and though this is a very simple thought, but it occurred to my mind that if the weapons are not autonomous, then the load of training become humongous. And a spread out army to test all of them probably is unthinkable. So we also need to imbibe in our mind that new systems should be autonomous, and also they should be able to be upgradable in the field. Because pulling out the systems from the field, bringing it to the factory and then upgrading them is a huge task. So we'll see how best we can integrate these 2, 3, 4 good ideas. Material ke baare mein Amardeep Bhatia has already spoken. We are working on that. In fact, other ministries are also working on that. Only a couple of months back, me and JS had discussion. We thought that instead of working on entire spectrum material, we'll pick up 3, 4 material, which are essential for us right now. Find out what best can be done, whether we can bring some scheme of incentive or some other mechanism, and if we are successful, then we will try to upscale for other materials. Testing, I have spoken enough. So the testing portal would make every testing facility transparently available to you. You can see that when is free, when it is not free. And we will also go in dynamic pricing. I told DGQ साहब कि किसी को fast चाहिए तो आप थोड़ा ज़्यादा पैसा ले लो. क्योंकि 6 महीने पहले, if somebody is booking 6 months before, charge him less. Whether as a government department he will be able to do or not, we'll see. But the mindset is clear that we will have to bring all facilities transparently available to you, and not only existing facility, but also we will like to onboard the facility available outside the defense ecosystem, which Amardeep also endorsed. And testing protocol also, I think for 7,000 tests, DGQ office has already published. We'll do whatever is required to make it better. And at the end, I would say the defense PSU, I would exhort defense PSU to streamline their procurement policy, to allow a startup to integrate with them and don't treat them as a competitor. Right now they are not. In future, they shouldn't become your competitor. You can take care at that time, but not right now. Thank you very much.
I'll just take a few seconds to conclude the session, sir. First of all, I'm very thankful to all the distinguished members on the dais for sparing their time, and you must appreciate that spending 1.5 to 2 hours in such difficult occasion in which Aero India is going on. There are so many invitations to each one of them. So you can understand the kind of commitment they have for this cause. Secondly, I am thankful to all of you to spare your time and come all the way to give us insights so that we can improve the entire ecosystem further and do much better in terms of production and exports. You all will appreciate that we all work in a very complex system. It's not a simple, defense is not a simple industry. There are many stakeholders involved. So we'll try to work on all the suggestions which have been given today. We have listed them. In case some of you have not been able to express your thought, then I'll request you to share it through email or maybe through phone calls so that we can include them in our compilation and in actionable points and then take necessary action each one of them. I would like to thank Mudit for sparing his time and doing this moderation so nicely. And also would like to thank iDEX team for putting together this show. Thank you very much. And I would like to invite all of you for the tea. Thank you.